This video will focus on the activities and lesson from 1.2. So the very first thing I want you to do before you continue is pause this and answer all these questions. Add the following numbers. All right, now that you've done that, let's take a look at the actual answers. So 22, 42, 77, 150, 122, and 221. So that was pretty easy. We're used to doing that. We're used to adding up positive numbers. But things are going to change in this lesson because the essential question is the sum of two integers positive, negative, or zero, and how can you tell? So there's actually 2 or 3 different ways that I'll show you today, but this is the first thing I want to show you. If you're going to use counters to find -4 plus -3, I have -4 here, right? And then I'm going to add up 3 more of these negative signs. So altogether, how many negative signs do I have? And the answer is, I have a total of 7, right? I have my 1, 2, 3, 4 that I had here, and then I have 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Altogether, I have a total of 7 of these signs, but they happen to be negative, so it's -7. Notice how this is written. It's written as -4 plus -3. Now, you could also, just so you know, you can write this as -4 plus -3 without the parentheses. It means exactly the same thing, but sometimes people put the parentheses there just to make it more clear for you. Next one here is that I'm going to actually use -3, and I'm going to add 2 to it. So you're going to notice here I have 3 negative signs I'm going to put down, but now I have 2 positives, right? So I line them all up, and my question is, how many do I have left? Well, these positives and these negatives cancel out, because if you have -1 and +1, you have 0. So this is gone. They cancel each other out. This cancels itself out as well. Therefore, I have 1 negative sign left, which means my answer is -1. So -3 plus 2 is -1. We could do this with a number line as well. If you think about your starting point, you start off at 5. So I started off at 0. I go 5 units to the right. So I'm at 5 now. And now I'm going to subtract 3. So I just go 3 units to the left. And where am I at on the number line? And the answer is, I'm at 2. So 5 plus -3 equals 2. And some people get confused because they're like, is this a negative sign or a minus sign or what? Well, actually, negative and minus means exactly the same thing. So don't get confused by that. They actually mean exactly the same thing. If you look at it, when you go negative, you're going to the left, right, on a number line? That's what I'm doing here. I'm going left 3 units. So now we're going to do another one, and it says write the addition expression shown, then find the sum. So I have to start off with, I start off at 0. I'm going to the right by 7, so it's going to be 7. And notice that it says write the addition expression. That means there has to be a plus sign in it. So 7 plus, and then what's happening here? It's going to the left, 7. And then, so what is 7 subtract 7, or 7 minus 7? What do I get? And the answer is I get 0. So if the sum of two integers is negative, are both integers negative? And how do you know? Basically, you know, if I have like -5, oops, sorry. Yeah, both integers can be negative, but they may not be. So the sum of 4 and -5 is negative, but both integers are not negative. If the sum of two integers is positive, are both integers positive? So it says both integers could be positive, but they may not be. The sum of -4 and +5 is positive, but both integers are not positive in this case. So that's an interesting point to look at here. So take a moment and absorb what this is saying. Now I want you to take these numbers here. I want you to think it through for a moment and try to figure out what this is equal to. So pause the video, go for it. All right, so now that you pause it, hopefully either you use the chip model or you use the number line to figure this out. But here are the various answers. So I have 13. Remember that I have like -5 and -1. I think of money. I owe somebody $5. I owe them $1. Altogether, I owe them $6. So I owe somebody $8. I have 13. That means that I still have, what, 5 left. Next one, so I have 12, and then I have to pay somebody $8, so I have $4 left. I owe somebody 10, I have $6, so I'm in the hole $4. And if I owe somebody $14, but I have $14 is what I actually have, if I pay them, I have $0. So the key idea here, so we're going to add up absolute values and then use the common sign. So 2 plus 5 is 7, right? And so -2 plus -5 equals -7. So it says use the number line to check your answer. So if I have -2 plus -4, we can just think about the absolute values here if I like. So I have 2 plus 4, and you get 6, right? But there was negative signs ahead of it, so we have to put that in there. So the sum is -6. Looks like this, -2, -4, total of -6. So add up 7 plus 13. So 7 plus 13 is 20. -8 and -5. Make the absolute value. So I have 8 plus 5, which is what? 13. But it's a negative sign in front of it, so it'll be -13. This one here, I have -20 plus -15. So absolute values is 20 plus 15. And I get a total of -35, right? Because they both have negative signs. And so here are all the answers. So now I'm going to add integers with different signs. So I have like a +8 and a -10. And it says here that we're going to use that, and that's how you would do this, by the way. And then it says additive inverse property. So it says the sum of an integer and its additive inverse are opposites. So for instance, like 6 and -6, or 25 and -25. And in algebra, if we use a variable, it would be a and -a. Additive inverse. So find 5 plus -10. So if you think about that number line model, you have 5, and I go back to the left 10. I have a total of -5, right? The next one here, -3 and 7. So again, I have my 7. I'm going to subtract 3 from it, and I have a total of 4. And then 12 minus, or -12 plus 12. This is that additive inverse, because they're opposites, so I should get 0. All right, so I look here at my bank account, and it says find the change in the checking account balance. So at first, I have a withdrawal of 40. And then I go to +50, right? So right now it went up. I have like $10 in my account, right? And now I have 10 plus 75, so I have 85. And then I'm going to subtract 50. So all in, I have $35. And they did it, a little bit different way here. So they wrote all the sums here. They added up all the positives first. So the 40, not sure. Oh, -40. So they combined the two together. So like they put the -40, the -50 here, put those on the same, like these two will cancel out. Then I have so that's my 0. And then my 40 plus 75, it's a -40, so that's how I get 35. So these are the various properties that you could have. So these are the 4 transactions that I have. I have the sum initially. I have my commutative property, which basically says that I can change the order. Associative property means that I use brackets and parentheses to change the order. I have the additive inverse, which was take like the 50 and the -50. And then I added the numbers together. And then because it's 35 plus 0, that's the addition property of 0. Anything plus 0 is the other number. So add this, so that would be -8. I'm sorry, it would be +8. This here would be -1, and this here is 0. So what if in example 3, the deposits amounts are 30 and 40? So you go back and check that out. But this is basically the lesson in general. Here's the last question. What do you know about the sum of A plus B? So I have my A, which is back here, and my B here. Is it going to be a positive or a negative answer when I add these together? And how do you know that? Well, the difference from here to here is smaller than from here to here. Therefore, my answer has got to be bigger than 1, or bigger than 0, I'm sorry. So it says 2 integers have different signs. Their sum is -8. What are possible values? There's a ton of different ones. I could have -18 and +10. I could have -10 and 2, -9 and 1, and so on. lots of different answers that I could have. They have different signs. And that is the